With membership, you say, well, we've been doing this for years. And so my question is, how's that working for you? Have you changed anything? Has there been any training at all? I'm sure that all of you are doing some things right and then some things wrong. So we're going to talk about both rights and wrongs again tonight. Um, Last week we talked about recruiting, and just as a quick reminder, the main things that are successful in recruiting are one-on-one invitations. So did most people here come to barbershop from a one-on-one invitation? Okay, how about another method? Did somebody come?
My parents were barber shoppers.
Okay, okay, good, good.
My wife heard an advertisement on the local radio, met me at the door, said, "Here's a sandwich, go."
Nice, nice. Okay,
It was 45 years ago, and I haven't missed a meeting since.
except last week.
Except last week.
All right.
We did well with bus ads, and they still have some of the ads up in the bus.
Great. Great. Well, there you go. There's something I had not heard of before. So there are a lot of varieties, and everything we talk about tonight are suggestions. Because everybody's going to do their own thing depending upon the number of people in their chapter and the personality of people and all those things. But these are suggestions that have proven fruitful over the years. So members can come from anywhere. Recently, just last week, we had a guest at our chapter, and it happened because one of the guys, one of our members, co-workers came to up and said, you like music, don't you, Matt? And he says, yeah, well, do you know such and such in finance, the finance department? He said, no, I don't. So he took him, he led him over to this other guy in finance and said, well, such and such likes music. Anyway, they started talking, and the guy came the next day to our rehearsal last week. The guy is a musical theater major, performance major. He did opera in Germany, sings all four parts, and we're going, yay! But you just never know where someone's going to come from. The way I got involved in barbershop was chicken feet. And to keep the story really short, I had a guy come into where I worked, and what I sold was foam rubber. The guy comes in, I'd like to buy some yellow foam. And I said, what are you using it for? He said, well, it's for a costume. I said, could you be more specific? He said, using it for chicken feet. And I said, well, we do have yellow foam, but it's more expensive than the white. I would recommend buying the white and painting it yellow. And we got into conversation, and I said, what's the deal? And he said, well, we're all going to dress up as chickens. Who's we? Barbershop. Anyway, it was the Tualatin Valley chapter. And he said, well, we're having a guest night. And I've always been interested in barbershop from the first time I saw the Music Man. Went as a guest night. Is someone? Do we have some background noise? Okay. Anyway, so I went to barbershop, Tualatin Valley Harmony Master, and that was my first 3 years in barbershop. And I had my chicken outfit until 2 years ago when my wife and I went as Colonel Sanders and a chicken to a party, and somebody stepped on one of my toes and broke it. Anyway, enough about me. So barbershoppers can come from anywhere. Most barbershoppers say, I wish I had known sooner. And so you have to remind everybody in your chapter, everybody probably to a person thinks that. So how can we make people aware of barbershop sooner? So have that mindset. If you're figuring on a guest night in 4 months, that's not sooner. What can you do in the next 4 months to get more people in your chapter? Okay. So say you have a guest coming. Now we're talking about orientation. You get a guest coming to your chapter. Are you prepared? Everybody have a guest book? Yeah? No? Okay. What questions do you ask in the guest book? Not rhetorical. Yeah. Jim.
In the case of ours, is a questionnaire sheet that they're given to fill out that includes singing experience, if not the degree of of knowledge, like whether or not we can read music, but simply have they sung in a group before. Just a little bit of their background in that area, what brought them to the practice. Like, how did
Excellent.
you hear about us? Is on there. And if there was a course member that had invited them,
Mhm.
and then at that point, when you turn that back in to get a name badge, to get a guest book, it's got all the music we're currently working on. And and the chapter president as well, we kind of have a system that any or all of us should be introducing ourselves to guests, but particularly the director and president and membership person. Those three people should be introducing themselves, and it's working pretty good for us.
Excellent. No, I think that's wonderful, because all too often somebody has a guest book, a guest will sign in, and there may or may not be a greeter that says, would you please fill it all out, has all the contact information, but they may just put in their name and that's it. It's nice to know how they found out about your chapter, because that way you can track. Was it Facebook? Was it Meetup? Did they talk to somebody? Did somebody's wife know somebody's wife who knew somebody's wife? Or what? So you can track what is working best for you and can continue to work that method. And if over time one method's not working for you and it's costing you some money, then maybe you stop using that method or figure out why it's not working. So getting a greeter at the door or at a table is a great thing, because you never know when someone's going to just walk in on their own or whether they're going to be brought in by somebody. So get that information that Jim just mentioned. That's always very important. Don't wing this stuff. Don't figure it's going to happen. So, Jim, does your membership person normally have them sign that, figure out that form, or how's that work?
Well, the procedure is part of our evening setup. The table is always set up as part of the setup. So it's just inside the door. You can't get into the room without going by the member or that table. If the membership person isn't there, somebody else fills that in, fills in for the spot rather. It's like I think like I don't quite understand your question. Like that's
Well, I guess the point was, I think that everybody should have a system set up. So whether they
yeah.
have a table or don't have it, that they have either a guest book or forms, like Jim has said, name tags, and it's a system. So even if the normal greeter or membership person is not there, that they can call up and say, hey, Anna or Charlie, will you please take over? And they know where the box of stuff is. It's not, oh, it's at my house. Sorry. It's someplace at the rehearsal hall. So anybody or somebody else on the membership team can take over that duty. Okay. But
And they do, Bob, also get we have a brochure made up. So over and above business cards, we have a course brochure that they get when they give them a sheet. So they have information on it.
excellent. Well, that's something we'll get into on a brochure, but thanks for bringing that up. But the main thing is don't wing it. To have a system in place, because all too often in barbershop, we wing things. Even some of the songs we sing are an oh yeah song that we've done 100 times. So we're out there supposedly performing What a Wonderful World, but our face may not be into it, our body language, it's just we're going through the motions, and we can't do that. We need to be excited about barbershop. We need to be thinking whether we're talking to somebody, recruit somebody, or talking to a prospect that has come as a guest, we need to be excited. So I just want to go around. What is an exciting thing about barbershop? Name one thing, Greg, that makes barbershop exciting for you. One.
Oh, there's more than one thing, but basically what interested me originally 20 years ago was singing a tag and hearing
Okay.
chords.
Good.
That just was
Art,
ecstatic.
how about you?
Fellowship, hanging out with the guys is important, but I think even more important than that is learning to sing the harmony. And I don't know if you ever get 100%. You're always learning. At least I am, and so that's important to me.
Excellent. Okay. Joanne? You're muted. I
Well,
think.
yeah,
There
yeah.
you
I
go.
was just trying to get my mouse to work. Yeah, definitely the ringing chords. Love it. I
Okay,
mean, it's like nothing else. Really, it's pretty amazing.
good. Volker?
But the question was whether what we first uh what liked about it. Is that what the question was?
Yep. Yeah. What
Yeah,
drew?
yeah.
Yep.
What drew me there? Well, I would say I'd seen the chorus and heard them for probably 10 years and never showed up until a few people got me to one-on-one and said, hey, show up at a rehearsal. And then finally it took a few of those times I did. And I would say the probably doing something with a passion for singing that you're not doing something otherwise with.
Mhm.
I would say that's it. Yeah, that was my favorite thing. And then I would also say, of course, the connection of all the guys. You're never going to find you get a bunch of guys together in a room that want to sing a cappella together. You're not going to get a bunch of weirdos. Like they're going to be real cool, nice people,
Or they're all weird. But
Well, yeah, there's we
okay. One of the things that I have found when you have guests is no matter what you do, you need to be welcoming. And it has to be genuinely welcoming, not just how you doing? And regardless of the size of your chapter, you don't want to sound desperate. When I moved up from Portland to Tacoma, I visited the Tacoma chapter. And on that night, it wasn't a guest night, but they had 6 basses and 18 leads. So were they glad to see me? I sing bass. And it almost set a desperation and stuff. But it's nice to be welcome, but they're please, it's when people come as a guest, you're trying to not necessarily sell them on the chapter, but make them aware of what the chapter offers. So, but at the same time, you want to find out what they have to offer. And so that's another big part of it. Be welcoming, but find out about that person, just as he was talking about in the questionnaire. I was in sales for 30 years, and it took me a couple of years to find out about selling, not automatically tell people what I have to offer. It's find out what do they need? What do they want? What drew you to our chapter? It might have been the internet. It might have been I sung years ago or what have you. Maybe they were singing with a church and they're looking for a different format of singing. Or maybe they did musical performance at theater and it took too much effort. So that's something to ask people, but find out about them when they come in, work, family, things like this. Show an interest in them instead of just saying, well, we've won this many district championships or we do 48 sing outs a year or whatever. Make it about them.
Bob, I think you're missing the fundamentals. What drew me in 45 years ago was that I had fun.
Okay.
I enjoyed the experience. And in my experience, having been in chapters all in 6 different districts, if you're not having fun, people aren't coming back. So the rehearsals have to be fun.
And that brings up another point. Thank you, Bill. I mean, funny, that's the most thing, but rehearsals need to be organized, I think. And that's why you can start your organization from the time they enter the door. Yep, here, would you mind filling out this little card we have or a guest book? Here's your name badge, Josh. Great, glad to have you here. Do you know what voice part you sing? Okay. So all of a sudden somebody comes in. Do you voice test them right there? Or do you automatically put them in bass or lead? Mr. Cox?
We do a voice placement just
Mhm.
so we find out that they're in the right section. What this does is from experience, I sang in high school and sang in college, and I was the first tenor. And I went to my first barbershop experience, and I walked in and I couldn't talk for 3 days afterwards. But I was persistent. I came back. I said it was fun. I enjoyed myself, was made to feel welcome. And the tenor section leader says, "Hey, have you ever thought about singing lead?" And I go, "Well, what's that?" And he walked me over, introduced me to a gold medal lead winner, and I became a lead for 30 some years and then switched over to bass. But it was just a placement, and it's as simple as just singing happy birthday or my wild not my wild Irish rose, God bless America. Just get a vocal placement type of thing, and it just sat you into the area where you best felt most comfortable.
I would say most time people are put in the bass section or the lead section, and then if you put them in the baritone section the first time, big mistake.
Unless they're really talented.
Unless they're really talented. But you want to have every time they're there to be an enjoyable, successful experience. How many of you have ever been learning a tag and you learn it and you go, okay, let's go. And you say, now here's the second part. And then you learn the second part. What was the first part again? And you finally think you've got it down. Okay, great. And then they say, now here's the third part to the tag. And you go, shit. You know, it's not fun because it takes too long to have that success that we yearn in a tag of making the chords. So make it fun and get them in the right section.
Bob,
What if somebody does? Yes.
you have a couple of comments you might want to point out in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Cool. Yeah, I think if somebody who's Ricky's writing in here about writing a follow-up letter with variety of letters, and I think that is important, and we'll get to that. If you can find out stuff ahead of time, great, but we'll find out because after their first night there, you should follow up, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Do you make phone contact in the follow-up? Yeah, phone contact in the follow-up is a method to do it, certainly. You could do it by email or even write snail mail if you dare. But you want to stand out and you do want to follow up after the first visit. But we're not quite at the first visit yet. We'll get there, okay?
In this follow-up stuff too, we made up cards ahead of time. And when they came in and we got their information before we were done, we addressed the envelope, sealed the card in it. It was signed by every person in the chapter, and that night it was dropped off in the mail.
Yeah.
And the look on someone's face when they go, "You actually wrote me," and it was remarkable what it could do.
Simple things can make a difference, and you want to stand out because there are other singing groups out there, right? But the differences for as we know, is our a cappella style has a unique form of blending. We produce overtones. We are scalable from 4 to 4,000. So as long as you've got the 4 different parts represented, you can make great music. And a lot of things don't do that. So there's a lot of uniqueness about barbershop. Okay, so we get somebody in the door, they've got their name tag and the membership guy or the greeter. What do we do next? Kevin.
Well, like you were saying, figure out where they, what section they belong in and assign them a buddy.
Okay. I've always found once you get to the section, introduce them to the section leader.
Right.
And maybe the director and stuff. And the section leader, in some cases, can watch over that person or have somebody else in the section do it. They can assign them a part-time buddy. Some chapters might have a permanent buddy, actually all the way through the first year, to make sure that person knows what's going on, what the priorities are, making sure they don't have any questions. I tried that in our chapter many years ago, found some guys that I thought were very friendly and helpful, set them up as buddies for any guests. And then I'd come to chapter and I'd say, "Charlie, why aren't you with your buddy?" "What do you mean, Bob?" I said, "He's standing right over there in the corner by himself." So if you're going to do something like that, follow up and make sure they know what to do and that they're doing their job. Okay. But I think that is important. Along those lines, when you have a guest come in, do you have guest books? Yes, everybody? Okay. Are the guest books up to date? There's nothing
Well,
more
you want
frustrating.
everything, don't you?
Nothing more frustrating than being on the risers and have to lean forward. Oh, we don't sing the tag there. That's been rewritten. You probably don't have it. You'll have to look at my book. Or that's been changed to a D flat instead of a D with the baritones. Da 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 da. So it's nice to have somebody, a librarian or something, that keeps your guest books up to date. You want to, again, have a successful, organized experience for the guest. Have enough guest books. Maybe you say, well, we've never had more than 2 guests at a time, so 3 guest books is fine. What about 6? Or be prepared, okay? Are your members wearing their name badges? Yeah.
Also, with a guest book, make sure that your music is all current and make sure that it is copyrighted and that you've paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't.
Experience from the past is that Catholic Church about 20 years ago, they had a copyright individual went in to visit their church rehearsal and found that they were singing music that wasn't properly bought or purchased, and it cost them $1 million. It's $1,000 a sheet, not $1,000 a copy. It's $1,000 a sheet.
In the barbershop world, this has happened. In the 1990s, there was a visitation to an unnamed chapter that had this visitation by someone from copyright world walked in, and there was a presentation that night about the importance of copyright, and that they were all legal, and that's why they had things. And that person then sent a letter to BHS saying, if this is an example of what you're doing in your organization, good on you. But all of us who were barbershoppers in the early years have got this much uncopyrighted information stored. We can't bring it, can't use it.
Yeah. So you
Just protect yourselves.
Yeah, good points. So you get your guest, and they may or may not want to get on the risers. Why would you want to get them on the risers?
Make them feel included.
Exactly. To feel what it's like to be a part of things. But once in a while, you may get somebody that doesn't feel comfortable. Because when you get guests, there are going to be some people, they're going to think, am I good enough? And then there are going to be some people think, are they good enough for me? And then everything in between. So you have to be able to manage that. So if someone just wants to sit and listen, give them a guest book and let them do that. If they don't read music, are you prepared to handle that? You still offer them up on the risers? Of course you do. They can follow the words and they can do up and down on the notes, but you can say, we can teach you to read music. We have learning tracks for all of our songs, and not all of our guys read music. So get them up on the risers if they want to, unless they're really shy about it. But making them feel included is important. Now, when you get them on the risers, I think everybody has somebody in their chapter that makes unusual body movements when somebody sings flat. Maybe their shoulder goes up, or maybe they're going like that or something, okay? Chances are that a guest might sing flat or sharp or be off key. So how do you handle that? Are you going to point out every little mistake? Are you going to tell them to sing softer or not sing or sit down? What do you do? Anybody? Yeah, Jim.
In our case, our director is extremely good at not finger pointing. But if there's a problem in any particular part, a line, a phrase, whatever, something isn't working, she may ask to sing it again to just see if it was a one-time accident or not.
Mm-hmm.
But she won't pinpoint that it was me that did it. She'll just say, okay, well, this section, this half of the chorus, just go through that lineup and just listen really carefully to the other parts. And you break it down by leads, baritone, basses, each singing your part. And it uh, eventually the person that made the mistake kind of realizes it. And I think it works.
Yeah.
They don't feel embarrassed.
I think as a rule, if you tell people when someone's learning a song or singing it for the first time, if you just sing softly or even just listen, because you're going to go through a number of reps anyway. So listen the first time and then sing softly. And as you feel more confident, you can raise your voice. And it's nice just so the section leader or the approved buddy can sort of listen in whether someone's really got a voice or not. And sometimes you're going to find somebody that thinks they have a voice and they may not. I'll give you an example. I had a gentleman come to our chapter when I was membership VP, and he came in and he was singing bass. And he says, "Oh, I do great at karaoke. My family says I am just awesome." Red flag, red flag. And so when it came time for audition, I said, "Okay, I'd like you to sing in front of me a few measures, just see how prepared you are. And if you sound good, then we'll practice in a quartet because we audition in our course." So he sang for me, and within 6 measures, he changed key 4 times. So I went, "All right, sing this note," and I sang a note. It didn't match. Did it several times, didn't match. And I went, "Uh-oh, red flag." Went to a piano, and I said, "Match this note." And it still could not match the key or the note. But this guy was a techie. He happened to work for Microsoft. And I said, "I'm not a techie, but I'm sure there's software out there where you can visually see whether you're matching the right note." And this was back around 2010. And I said, "But you're not prepared to audition." And I didn't see the guy for a year. And then he came back and he said that he found the software where it actually shows you the wavelength when you're supposed to be singing a C, and it shows how far off you are. And now there's stuff you can get on your phone, as several of you probably know, that shows whether you're 2 cents under or 6 cents above that thing. But he needed that visual thing because he could not hear it. So anyway, that happens. But you have a guest, you want to be supportive because none of us are perfect and we can all improve. And as somebody said, that's one thing they like about barbershop is that we have the education, which a lot of singing forms don't have. If you go to a church, are you taught how to sing? Nope, it's pretty much you get through learning a song on Thursday night or whatever it is, sing it on Sunday, and then you repeat. But as far as actual singing technique, rarely do you get the individual or section attention. Okay, so the person's on the risers, they're having a good time, and all of a sudden, before the rehearsal even starts, you even tell them what to expect. This is how the rehearsal is going to go, Annie. We're going to warm up for about 15 minutes. And you're going to be glad we did if you haven't sung in a while, which you said you haven't. So we're going to warm up for a while, do some vocal exercise, maybe some physical things, and then we're going to go through songs. And then we'll take a break at about such and such time for about 10, 15 minutes, have a business meeting, and then we'll sing some more. And then afterwards, we have an afterglow. It's nice to let people know what's coming so they can expect it, okay? They have an idea. Maybe they'll say, "Oh, I've got to leave at 8:30. Cool, no problem. But just keep them aware of what's going on. Okay, so comes break time. What do you do at break? Remember, this isn't a guest night. This is just a regular rehearsal night. Break time with a guest.
We try to anyone that didn't introduce themselves or meet them at the beginning, we try to create that culture where everyone comes up at some point and tries to connect with them is the idea. Meet and greet, but also connect. And
Okay.
As my membership role there, I've thought that, it might not be me who connects with them the best. It might be someone else there. So we're trying to train the whole chorus to know what to do. And whoever makes that great connection, we can try to foster that. And maybe that's the person that followed up with them. But we also try to sing a tag with them. That's kind of a normal thing. Get them to sing with 4 other guys or whatever.
Excellent. It's excellent. I know in our chorus that we have the guests come out to the front of the chorus and introduce themselves and say something, their favorite flavor ice cream, whatever, and they just go down the line depending upon how many guests. But they get introduced and stuff. And then it's nice to have the buddy or Greg, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, kind of going along with what Volker was saying, in Harmony Kings, and Kevin and Bill will probably remember this, but in Harmony Kings, we were concerned about being prepared, having the entire group prepared. So we actually took a couple of people aside, our regular members, and put a badge on them that said guest. And then they went through and we were to treat them as a guest. And then afterwards, we got an instantaneous response as to this worked for me, this didn't work for me, we need to fix this. And we did that for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks to try and prepare the entire group, because nothing is scarier than having a guest come in and somebody goes, oh, you're a guest. I wonder what you're supposed to do. Wait a minute, let me go find somebody. And they leave the person hanging. And then finally somebody comes back. In the meantime, they miss the opportunity to meet the director, the president, section leaders, and all that kind of stuff. And that did help. And that year we grew, relatively small is what it could be, but we grew about 10 after we did that, because the entire chorus became engaged in what do you do when the guest shows up.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. But I think at break time, class thing, having them be introduced to the chorus, teaching them a tag. Hopefully you've got somebody within your chorus that is good at teaching tags, because again, you want it to be a successful, fun experience, not a labor of something. And then have somebody sing behind them, even with this guy that we had at our rehearsal last week, who was way better singer than I'll ever be. He was singing a tag for the first time, and I just stood at his shoulder and I said, I'll help you out when I feel you need it, and then next time it'll be all you. And he was thankful for that. He mentioned it at the end of the rehearsal. Thank you for helping me out on the bass, Bob. I appreciate it. Again, even though he's a great singer. So teaching the tag, also introducing either the section leader or the buddy can introduce them to other people within the section without overwhelming them. Maybe there's offer them some water, because if somebody hasn't been singing in a while and they come to rehearsal, they're not going to pre-hydrate unless they're warned. And you know what it's like. Your vocal cords are worn after one rehearsal because you haven't sung that much in a long time. So take care of your guests that way.
Bob, I'd also highly recommend, is that every one of your members wear a name badge. If you don't have a name badge, print one up for those individuals to say have a guest use a red bordered one and a member use a blue bordered one or something like that.
Yeah.
That identifies them as a member.
Nope, very good. I think even if you don't have guests, people should be wearing their name badge all the time. Okay, moving along. So you've had your guest. You did great. You taught them a tag, and they went, that was cool. What was that? What was that? That was called an overtone. Little things, okay? They talked earlier about giving them a brochure or something like that, and we're almost there, but we got the second half of the rehearsal. So you're going through this, and you're helping them find the music in the guest book, and they seem to be enjoying it. Rehearsal's over, and you tell them, oh, we sing this closing song after every rehearsal. Just bear with us. You'll get to learn it or what have you. Rehearsal's over. Then you just say, good night, nice of you to come, appreciate it. Here's an opportunity to one, did you have a good time? You know, what do you think? Get their opinion. Are you aware we have an afterglow afterwards where a bunch of us go out and just have the beverage of your choice, do a little bit more singing, and just casually get together for our once a week meeting? You're more than welcome to attend. Yeah, Bill.
As a former section leader and an often riser buddy over the years, the thing that I worked into was to make sure that in downtime off the risers, I said, do you have any questions? Does anything make any sense? Anything seem strange to you? And having them stand with me, and I could hear them. I said, just sing along with me. I'm going to lean in. I'm just going to sing in your ear, sing what you hear with me. And they were following. And if they didn't read music, I would just put my hand and help them understand. And then within 8 bars, they were in tune, on comfortable. But it was this individual attention, and then it was the welcome and making sure that they were introduced to other members in the same section, the people around them, making them understand that we are more than just a group of people who get together and sing off the music. It's a tough word, but it's more than fellowship. It is the ability to be part of a group that is welcoming and accepts you.
Yep. Thanks. One thing that I just remembered is there was one chorus in our one chorus in our district, and they had 4 section leaders that were all in a quartet. And when it came to break, they sequestered themselves off and rehearsed. Didn't take time to sing tags or meet with guests. They would just. So just beware of cliques, or however you want to pronounce it, within your chorus, whether it be people that work together or people that sing in a quartet, to try to avoid that and to break them up, or to use them for a positive thing, i.e. teaching the tag or what have you. Try to encourage members to reach out to new members and get to know members. And we're going to talk about that in retention, but just beware of cliques and other little things that happen within your chorus, because when a guest comes, it's like seeing a moving train. Have you ever been to a group that has been together for a long time and you wonder, was that sarcasm, or was he seriously saying what he feels about that guy or gal? So just a little warning there. Okay, the rehearsal's over. You've asked them the question, did you have a good time? You enjoying yourself? How'd you feel about singing the first time in 3 years? Did you want to come to the Afterglow? The guy says, are you thinking about coming back? And if they say, yeah, you could say, well, we have a guy that lives near you. Be happy to carpool if that's of any interest to you, just to ensure that they get back. Otherwise, they could be just giving you lip service. Okay. But make sure they feel welcome, that they enjoy it. Chances are they won't have a lot of questions. It's always good to ask if they do, but most people I ask if they have any questions, they go, not really, not right now. Okay. As mentioned before, after they're gone home, if somebody didn't bring them and took them home, then a letter, an email, a phone call. Did you enjoy yourself? And maybe they say, maybe it's not for me. Why isn't it for you? And it's nice to find out. They may or may not confide in you. But one thing about barbershop is each chorus has its own personality, and the personality of your chorus may not be for them. Maybe it's too loosey-goosey. Maybe it's too structured. Maybe they feel that people are too young, too old, whatever it is. But some chapters, especially ones in the I-5 corridor, have other chapters that are close enough to say, well, if you like barbershop, but you don't think our chapter's for you, you might try out such and such. Now, I understand, obviously, some other chapters like Anchorage, you can't do that. So, but still encourage them, hey, I hope you keep music in your life, and you can find what you're looking for. We will be here if ever you want to come back. Would you be interested in being on our email list for upcoming performances? Because maybe they enjoy how you sing, but they don't want to participate. But maybe they want to be on your mailing list. Great. Okay. Just keep it all upbeat and don't shame them or anything. And if they say, I don't think I'm good enough. And how many guys joined barbershop or gals, that maybe their only previous singing experience was in the shower or karaoke? Probably a few. So we're all in this to learn to be better singers. So follow up. So guest comes back the next time. Wouldn't it be great if you knew or had an inkling they were coming back to already have a printed out name tag sitting there on the guest table in a vinyl laminated thing with a clip on it or a lanyard? Wouldn't that say welcome? Like, wow, this is pretty cool. And maybe it'll have their voice part on there as well. Little things you can do to make them feel extra special and welcome.
If
You can-
nothing else, just be sure you remember their name.
Well, that's why you have a guest book. And so if you had 3 guests
Exactly.
the week before, then you just write those down and you have it. If they don't show up, what did you lose? Nothing, but it was there for them and you were ready. Okay.
And then also remember how to pronounce it correctly.
Good point. Good point. We have a guy in our chorus whose name has been just, pardon the expression, bastardized over the year. His name is Pinocchio. And if you look at the spelling, everybody fumbles, but he says it's Pinocchio with a ch
In it.
And anyway, good point, Bob. Good point. Okay, so somebody shows up. Do you give them, what material do you give them? You don't want to give them too much, but you don't want to give them too little. And you don't want to overwhelm them with information about barbershop in general and your chorus and stuff, but you want to give them enough to think about. Have you thought about when you give them some information at the end, if you do, here's some links to some great quartets and choruses on YouTube you might enjoy. Because maybe they haven't heard a lot of barbershop, or maybe they've just seen The Music Man. So what if all of a sudden they saw Gas House Gang, or The Acoustics, or Vocal Spectrum, or Fred? This helps plant the hook a little bit deeper. I want to be part of this. Okay. And what you give them can also say, barbershop is a lot bigger than just our chapter. And maybe this little thing has a paragraph saying that barbershop started in 1948 and the people been, or 38, and people been singing forever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Think about something to plant the hook a little deeper, to give them some time to cogitate over this. Because if it's just mentioned briefly from somebody at rehearsal, it's probably going to go over their head. Okay. All right. They come back second rehearsal. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I had a good idea from one of our new members who said when he showed up that there was so much information like you're talking about, and we don't want to overwhelm them with that. And I'll just tell you 2 things. One thing, I'm working on a sheet that I'm right now calling what to say and what not to say, to be handed out to existing chorus members for them
Excellent.
to know what to say, what not to say, kind of simplified a little bit. But the other thing that Jack, our new member, brought up was that it would be nice, he said, to have a sheet, something very simplified that just kind of had some basics of what the chorus does throughout the year, so he knows what he's even getting into. And that was something that I hadn't thought of before. So yeah.
Well, these are that's excellent, I think, about the do's and don'ts of what to say and not to say. But you all want to be saying the same message. You don't want to have somebody saying one thing, oh, the joint's going to cost you about $1,000. And then somebody else just say, well, no, dues are this. Anyway, conflicting messages, you don't want that. So you want to have consistent messages. Other things, if somebody on the first night, they say, I want to come back. I'm pretty excited. Can I take a guest book home with me? Yes, no? Greg shaking his head, no.
No, you lose them. You may not lose the member, but you're going to lose the music.
Okay, anybody else got a comment on that? Yes, Walker.
Well, we created a candidate login on our website, and that just has the 2 learning tracks and music that they would learn for the audition. And so the idea is to direct them to that and not worry about all the other music, because there's going to be so much that it's going to be overwhelming, all the whole set list. And so, yeah, it's just to really direct them to do that. And then if they want to practice at any time, we could easily grab the 3 other parts and they can practice it. So that's what we direct them to.
No, that's an excellent way to do it. Because again, you don't want to lose the music, but showing them where they can find it on the website and making sure they're comfortable doing that is important, because not everybody is digitally savvy. Most of us find stuff on a website, but that's important. Another important thing is, from a priority standpoint, is what music is coming next week. I don't think enough chapters say these are the songs we're going to work on next week, which is important, I think, both especially for the new guys, but also from the standpoint of regular members, because all of a sudden you get to rehearsal and the director says, pull out this song. And you go, oh, God, I worked on every song but that. Damn. So I think that would make it easier for everybody if the music team knew what music was coming up. But for a brand new guest, especially the audition song, if there is one, that's an important thing. Okay. But again, we're trying positive experience. Yes.
I'll just throw it in, like, we've got a really successful program for that. We've got a director that's a little over the top, which is a very good thing, that she sends out the weekly agenda by email to all of the members. Like attached is what everything is there. All the songs we'll be doing next week. If sometimes you should go further and put the key there in and whatever. If there's word problems we're working on, everything is stated on there. Mm-hmm. And if we've got a guest that comes in and is really interested in it, she'll ask or offer to put them on her mailing list for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. She'll get the same thing the members do. And it's got all of the music, all the things they're going to need to work on. And they're part of the chorus at that point. They're on the inside track and they really enjoy it.
Okay. So we're moving through it. We got to move pretty quickly here because we've just sort of, it's been interesting getting all your guys' feedback. I'm trying to balance not giving a lecture, but also getting feedback. And I think I went too much to the other side this time. So somebody wants to join. And if you have an audition song, I recommend that you have sort of a pre-audition with the section leader can put together a quartet, as happens in our course, to see if they know the song. And they may say that they know it, oh, I'm 95%. And then all of a sudden, if they sing it in the quartet and they go, I got pulled off by the lead or the baritone, so maybe I'm only 65%. So I still need to work on it. But you want to ensure that the chance of passing the audition the first time is maximized. If you don't have an audition, that's fine. You know, whatever way you work it, or you say, I think you're ready, would you like to join? But make sure they're aware of the costs, the amount of commitment that is required. Some courses have you have to attend a certain amount of rehearsals to be on the risers for a performance or for a contest. Okay. What's it going to cost? Not just for the dues and the registration, but before they join, they need to know, I'm going to have to buy a tux, or I'm going to have to buy that certain red and black shirt, or whatever the case may be. There might be a little travel involved if we travel around for contests. Or during the year, we do 18 performances. Everybody's expected to make at least 2/3 of those. Whatever it is, your person should know about that ahead of time. Okay, no bait and switch. Here's the deal. The secretary should be prepared with the paperwork. So the secretary knows, okay, I've got the paperwork. Here's the deal. They know how much to pay. They pass their audition or not. They sign up and they give you the check. And when somebody passes an audition or become a new member, don't be casual about it. I know of a chapter where one of the guests auditioned and passed his audition at the break. After the break, the membership VP said, congratulations, we have a new member at blah, blah, blah. Now we just need his money. Now we just need his money. Thought he was being humorous, but didn't go over well with me at all. I was the president at the time. So anyway, just be watch what you say, okay? Because I think they can make a difference. All of a sudden they go, what? Okay. If you have somebody that question, yeah, great.
Also, you don't have to come up with the money right away. You have to discuss it, but you shouldn't be on the first meeting, maybe not on the second meeting. On the third meeting, you start introducing and talking about a little bit of it, but you should never leave them in the dark and spring it on them like they did me when I first started. I thought I was a member. Cool. They have a shirt. They didn't tell me the shirt was $35, and they didn't tell me that they sang in tuxes, and I didn't have a tux. And fortunately, I was dedicated enough and wanted to do it bad enough that I figured out how to do the money. But they also had an angel fund to help me with my costume. So on the tuxedo, they basically paid for the tuxedo and I paid it back to the chorus as an interest-free loan. And I paid it back at $20 a month until it was paid off.
Mhm.
And that's another idea to help them out and ease the pain, because when they first come in, it can be really overwhelming.
Exactly. But if somebody thinks things are too expensive, then I always tell the story. I say, do you golf? How often do you golf? What's it cost you for a round? You know, or even a bowling league, you know, you need to buy a bowling shirt unless your sponsor's paying for it, if you have a sponsor. And then there's so much per week. And then anyway, all the things. It's,
Right. How much coffee do you drink?
yeah. So being able to combat that without making them feel bad. But as Greg said, there's always ways around things. I had a membership guy said, boy, we've got this guest that really wants to join, but he can't afford the registration. So I said, you could do it like Greg said, as a loan that they could pay back. Or I said, if this person is really out of work and it's going to be a while, if you feel this is going to be a valuable member to the chorus, and maybe they've got some other skills that the chorus currently doesn't have, like marketing or digital skills or something that the chorus needs, maybe it's worthwhile for you guys to buck up for that person for the first year. And then after that, they can take it on their own. So there are always options, but Angel Fund is certainly a good thing to happen. Okay.
Bob, to go along with that, you're going through a lot of things tonight, and it's greatly appreciated. I would strongly encourage your board, or you as the vice president of membership, to write out a plan, a schedule of what you want to do and what needs to be done on a regular basis, so that you have consistency from this week to 2 weeks down the road from now, of things that you want to make sure that you cover when a new guy or a new young lady walks into the room for rehearsal. Name badges, guest books, music, orientation, all of those types of things. Have a plan in place, and it makes it so much easier to go from year to year with that.
That's an excellent point, Bob, and that's where I was going next, actually.
Okay, congratulations. Thank you.
One great thing, the one chapter that the Seattle chapter under the tutelage of Ted Chamberlain is, for every new member, they got a free voice lesson from Ted. Now, I know every chapter can't do that. In fact, very few can do that. But the benefit I saw is if Ted could impart to that person, just as they join, if you don't work on anything else, this is one thing that'll improve your singing immensely. Just think, if you did that for every new member, how that would raise the level of the chorus so quickly. So if the section leader can do that, that would be a great thing without overwhelming them. Other things about what Bob said is having the list or an Excel spreadsheet of something, of checkoff points. Again, it's just recommendation. You do your own thing. But okay, did we take care of him? We got the name badge. When he comes, when they finally join, make a big deal out of it in front of the chapter. Here's your polo, boom, in whatever size they have, you know. Here's your music book with your name on it, you know. Maybe you give them a pitch pipe. Whatever it is, make a big deal out of it. Just don't say, and here they are, rah, rah, rah. Okay. On your checklist going forward from the first night, now they remember, don't stop talking to them. Maybe part of the checklist, I know the name of everybody in my section. I am off the paper on 2 of my songs. I have learned so many polecats. I have sung a tag with whatever. I now have my tux, and make sure maybe your chorus manager says, okay, for the tux or whatever it is, the dress, here's where you go. This is the style. And you talk to Guido and he'll get you in, or whatever the deal might be. But have a checklist so it's always consistent, because you don't want to wing this stuff. Everybody needs to be consistent. And by having a checklist, if somebody's not there, they have a guideline for what's going on. But the first year is important. And when they reach these goals on your checklist, celebrate 6 months as a new member, blah, blah, blah. another thing that you never find as much excitement in barbershop as a new member, because the look on their faces when they first hear the acoustics, or they sing a really good overtone on a tag, just the look of wonderment in their face. It just blows you away. And you guys have been doing it for years, or gals, but make use of that. You know, when they bring their first guest, make a big deal out of it, because they're so juiced, they want to get some of their friends involved. You know, give them a chapter job after the first few months when they've gotten adjusted into things, because then they'll have a little skin in the game, regardless of how small it is. But get them involved in what's going on in the chapter, because then they feel more a part of things. One thing that our chapter does at our award banquet is we have a Rookie of the Year award for new barbershoppers to recognize these people. So again, make a big deal out of it. So, but there should be orientation throughout the whole first year. Guide them through where to find things on the society website, where they can find things on the Evergreen website, even on your chapter website. Learn more about the history of barbershop, the history of your chapter. Are you guys aware that some of the websites, will help you learn music, or have learning techniques on best ways to learn a song? Okay. There's a lot of information out there that people don't know about or aren't using. And so make your new members aware of that, and then check in on them regularly. Speaking of which, on the Evergreen website, how many have been on the Evergreen website? Okay, I see a few. Okay, have you really looked through it thoroughly? Yeah? Okay, there's more to look through it. Some people are visual learners and some people are audio learners. For a lot of what we've covered tonight and even last week is on a thing under leadership in the Evergreen website. And it has a membership thing. Actually, there's a thing for president and secretary and treasurer, but there's also for membership. And it talks about the different areas of membership. So you can go on there and learn a little bit more about this stuff. Last week on the chapter leadership news, I put out 3 links, and I hope some of you took the time to look those up. If not, I'll send them out again. One of them was to Supercharge Your Chapter by Paul Ellinger. Just an hour-long thing on YouTube that shows the best way really to do one-on-one invitations to barbershop, when and how to do that. Excellent thing. Paul is the leader in membership in the society. A second thing was also a manual for the Ready, Set, Grow program, or some know as Sing, 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 or has a variety of names, but it's basically sort of a community chorus type of an event where people come to your chapter and they learn about the barbershop style of a cappella singing, and it's proven very effective in community outreach and bringing in members. And the third thing, link that I sent that last time, was membership and marketing that was done by Greg, our communication director. And I'll send it out somewhere after this week, but there's a lot of information out there if that's the way you learn better or just want to have it in printed form, okay? Any questions right now? The bottom line, if you don't take anything else away from tonight, is have a system in place. Don't wing it. Make sure your pleasant people are talking, and if one of your members is not in that, then don't have him going around talking to the guests all the time. Make sure your message is consistent, your chapter is welcoming and organized for the guests, and that you're prepared for whether you have 1 guest or 6 guests. And don't think that your only recruiting thing is your 1 or 2 guest nights a year, or quarterly even. We're recruiting all the time. All the time. You don't want to have any more people say, I wish I'd known sooner. Sooner is right now. Get more people. We got to recover so that all of our chapters are above and beyond this critical point where you only have 10, 15, 18 members, so that if 2 baritones are sick or 2 tenors, you can't do a performance. Not a good deal. as always, if any of you have any questions, you're welcome to email me. You don't have to wait for the next meetup or anything. And if you have questions on anything else, if I can't answer it, I will lead you to another board member, whether it be Bob Cox or Bill Hickman or Greg Conlon or others. Okay? Questions?
Just one last thing. Also, I strongly encourage each to look at Harmony College Northwest. Registrations are now open. There are several classes that will be leadership type classes to focus on how to reach out to members, how to recruit members, how to bring or how to retain members, how to address change within your chapter, how to work with other nonprofits. A lot of neat classes this year. And I would strongly encourage you, if you can work those into your schedule, it would be awesome. And we'd look forward to seeing you there.
One last thing. Remember that everybody at this round table right today and all the other membership VPs or chapter development, whatever you want to call it, they are resources for you. So there's no reason you shouldn't be able to reach out to Jim and say, can you send me that sheet of questions that you ask instead of having a regular sign-in book? Or what are those yes and no things you do up in Anchorage? Okay. There are a lot of resources from Harmony College Northwest to the other, the district board, to the other chapter VPs, and even Sweet Adelines. They're doing the same thing. They're trying to recruit singers. So maybe they have some method that you haven't thought of. Okay. I have found that when chapters have gone co-ed, that all of a sudden they have the women that they grow. Not just because the women, but the women are better socializing and generally have broader networks than men do. Hate to stereotype, but I believe it's true. So if your chapter is men right now, don't be afraid to use your spouses to reach out, because they could always say, well, my husband, Harry, he sings every Tuesday night at such and such, you know, blah, blah, blah. What does your husband do on Tuesday night? Well, he does nothing. I really need to get him out of the house. Fine. Have him go with Harry. But anyway, there are other resources out there. And as I said, there's stuff on the Evergreen website especially. Thank you all for attending. Much appreciated. And the word will get out, but we're looking at probably 6 o'clock on April 27th. Okay? Thanks very much.